Matt Steele does listen to Thank You Next?
I haven't.
Every day I come home and I'm like, hey, Matt Steele, have you heard Thank You Next yet? And like, no.
I'm sure I'll like it.
Well, you should listen to it.
I have to go to work.
You don't care about Ariana and what she's going through?
I'd rather listen to Ragtime. Though Ariana would make a great little girl in Ragtime.
She would do nothing.
I know. Hey everybody, welcome back to a patron edition of 2 Gay Matt, and today we're gonna harken back to the 97-98 Broadway season.
Everything we talk about on this channel is about from 1997 through 1998.
A musical entitled
Ragtime.
The people called it Ragtime.
Yeah.
Oh God, and Ragtime just...
Can you speak? Use your words.
No, I can't.
This is a show. People need to hear you.
There's literally no way I can describe how utterly brilliant I think the score of Ragtime... Not even how I think, how the score of Ragtime is. It is objectively the best score of the 90s and one of the greatest Broadway scores that's ever been written, that ever will be written. It is Ragtime, and I just heard from Matt Palmer that he finds that there are peaks and valleys in the score.
I do believe that.
And I'm curious about that, but first let's talk about what Ragtime's about.
Okay.
If you don't know about Ragtime, it documents basically the turn of the century, early 1900s. It follows a bunch of rich whiteys in New Rochelle, New York.
Yes.
So there's Mother, who's the matriarch of this family.
Yes.
Then there's the African Americans living in New York City, which is led by Cole House Walker Jr., who is a piano player.
Yes.
And then there...
Brian Stokes Mitchell, can I just say?
I mean, we
what?
Just say...
A fucking vocalist! Oh, Prince of Egypt. I can't.
Are you going back to Prince of Egypt?
I mean, yes!
I know!
Like, what? It's just, I am a person who does not believe in baritone singing, but he is the only baritone that should be singing, because what a gorgeous, gorgeous instrument.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
It makes me melt.
And the other group is following immigrants from Eastern Europe, which is head by a man they call Tate, which means father. And it's about how these three groups of people, how the lives of these three people kind of intertwine. So these three main characters are fictional, but it talks about how their lives interweave with famous historical figures like Evelyn Nesbit, Harry Houdini, Booker T. Washington, Emma Goldman. I don't even know where to begin with the story.
Well, before we get started on discussing the story or discussing the show, I need to talk about my history with Ragtime.
Okay.
I was first introduced to Ragtime when I was, I believe, in 11th grade. They had auditions. They were doing like a national...
11th grade?
Yes. They were doing like a national high school production of... Ragtime, is that what this is? I auditioned at something, got a call back, and so I spent the weekend like auditioning for this thing. And so I had to learn several of the songs, I had to audition with Make Them Hear You, and I had to do a scene at a moment that I don't even remember what the scene was. There's some sort of talking thing. I feel like I was overlooked. It was very much like, I shouldn't have been Cole House. I was a thin man. I could have been something though. The girl who got Sarah came up to me after my audition and was like, you were excellent. Like, I don't know what you're gonna get, but you have to get something because you're excellent. I didn't get fucking anything because everything's unfair. If anything that we've learned about my theatrical life is everything's unfair. So again, I may have, for a long time, held a bit of a grudge against Ragtime.
Well, maybe you should have paid more attention to that scene.
And I feel like this is very much like 90s Les Mis, a little bit. Like a kind of,
absolutely.
Right?
Because the epic musicals of the 80s very much came from England.
Yes.
And so there was a very British feel to them. But then in the 90s, Broadway sort of started coming up with their own sort of epic musicals, which were a little more history-based and sort of had a little bit more grit to them. You had like Parade and you had Titanic, but you need to listen to Parade and you need to listen to that Titanic.
Is Titanic good?
Oh, the musical?
Yeah.
Oh, is incredible.
Really? I never hear about it.
Yes, and Parade. Let's talk about the score.
Okay, we should just jump into this. I mean, what are your highlights? Why am I even asking? You're gonna say everything's your fucking
literally everything is my highlight. I don't even know where to begin. So let's just like start at the beginning. How just the simple beginning where you just get to know the characters. You're introduced to the characters, and then it builds and builds and builds, and then it goes right into Goodbye My Love, which goes right into Journey On.
I do like Journey On.
Journey On is where you have Mother's husband, who's called Father, is taking a trip exploring whatever.
He's going to the North Pole.
He's going to the North Pole, yes. He's singing on his ship and he's passing the ship of Tata, who's coming to America.
It's kind of foreshadowing. Father's leaving, Tata's coming.
Tata's coming.
No! Keep your eyes peeled. Not to spoil you, but keep the eyes peeled. And then also, little girl is Lea Michele, which I feel like we should discuss.
There's literally nothing to discuss there.
Can I speak to one of the first songs I don't like?
Yes.
I feel like the entire Evelyn Nesbit thing. What is this? Why do we need this? Girl on the swing. Like, I understand she's a real person. We're gonna, like, historical fiction, how cute. Crime of the century, it's like, sweetie, I have 3 hours of music to listen to, and, like, this is wasting my fucking time.
A lot of the historical things are very much about, like, harking on, like, what was popular then. Like, vaudeville, we needed, like, the vaudeville number. The thing with Crime of the Century, though, is it's not that long. Like, it's only, like, 2 choruses, and it shows that, like, Mother's younger brother, who's searching for something, anything, like, he was in love with her, and he would try to see her show every day, and then in one of the scenes, he, like, approaches her, and he tells her how much she loves him, and she's kind of just like, oh, you're literally nothing by, and it, like, breaks his heart.
Got it.
It's great.
It's not that long, but it's like, the show is so long. It's like when we get those 40-minute 2-day Matts, I'm like, all right, Matt Steele, we gotta cut like half of this.
And it doesn't happen.
And it doesn't happen when he does it, but if I were to have this be my show, whoo, quick hour and a half, you're in, you're out.
And then you go into where the mother's digging in the garden. She finds a little baby in her garden. In what kind of woman?
That's a great song. That is a great song.
God, and so they find out that the woman who left the baby is this African-American woman named Sarah.
Yes.
And she,
Audra McDonald.
Who won a Tony for this role. Won her 3rd Tony Award. And the police are like, we're gonna arrest the mother and we're gonna send the child to an orphanage. And the mother, she's like, my husband's not here, but like,
I have to make
this decision. And the mother's like, I can't have this child go to an orphanage. So she's like, I'm gonna take care of the child and I'm gonna take care of Sarah. I'm not pressing charges.
Right. And then the best part about that song is she's like, if my husband was here, we would have sent her away. He would have closed the door in my fucking face and not wanted me to see that.
You would have gently closed the door and gently turned the key.
And it's
what kind of woman would that
have made me? I was like, okay, I didn't know this song really before, and I was like, all right, bitch, that is some writing. That is some writing. A+.
Oh, it goes into then Cole House, who like left Sarah for some reason.
Yeah, it's always unclear.
I forget. I'm pretty sure it's in the script, but I completely forget. He finds out where Sarah is. Cole House Walker says, I'm gonna make myself a better man. I'm gonna buy myself a car, a Model T Ford, and it goes into the making of the Model T Fords and the Henry Ford moment, which is my favorite song in the show because it mixes the historical elements with the journey of the character, because it shows the excitement of, oh my god, the economy is booming. He was mass producing these cars that anyone could buy, including black people. They could finally have a nice car of their own. And so it goes right into him Cole House buying this car to show off and say, look girl, this is what I have now, this is the man I am, and he drives to Rochelle in the car. That whole section is thrilling.
I guess I need to listen to it again. That song made no impression on me now.
Oh my god.
Listening to it, I was like, oh, this is fine. And it also was coming right after Getting Ready Rag, which I was like, ugh,
Getting Ready Rag is literally just
hated it.
It's a minute long.
It's annoying.
It's a minute long. He's like buying new clothes.
That's a lot of the ragtime that Cole House performs. I'm like, I don't like this. Like, this is unpleasant to my ears. I realize that's the music that was happening. I understand that.
That's literally the score.
That's why I'm like, I don't like this. It's just like, it's unpleasant to me. It goes down like fucking medicine. I don't.
But you understand like how ragtime is so prevalent in the score.
Yeah, so I get it.
But you just don't like ragtime music.
I just don't like ragtime music. So it's like, what's the one?
I mean, I'm not like a ragtime music fan or whatever, but like how it's used in this score is genius.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did we skip Your Daddy's Son? Talk about this?
Oh, we did, yeah.
Alright, anyways. This is cute and whatever. Your Daddy's Son is just one of the most incredible performances. One of the most heartbreaking songs. Audra McDonald is a goddamn genius. Angel from heaven. Deserves every Tony she's ever won. Like, I have never been more moved than listening to Your Daddy's Son. Because it's obviously what she's done with the bearing of the baby is so devastating, but then you hear it from her perspective and you're like, fuck. She had no choice. What do you do? What do you do? And like, she made a terrible decision and did a horrible thing, but
she's essentially like singing to her baby, apologizing for like trying to kill him.
That's my favorite song on the show. And one thing about it is like, Back to Before comes close, but I feel like the score kind of peaks so early that it's like nothing packs the same emotional punch to me than Your Daddy's Son.
Your Daddy's Son definitely comes at a time where musically it's very climactic.
Yes.
And
What a
she's like,
performance.
but she's like, God wants no excuses. I have
Only one.
You have your daddy's hand. You are your daddy's.
Did she perform that at the Tonys?
No, they performed the opening number at the Tonys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is there a great video of her performing that I can watch?
Not really.
Oh! I would give any amount of money to see her perform that song. It's just
she's
perfection.
Yeah.
What an
I would give any money to see Fantasia perform that song.
Oh my god, that would be a lot. I mean, it would if she had to kick off her shoes for it, I wouldn't need it. But
new music is just the most beautiful. You think it's the end of Act 1, but it's not. It could totally be an Act 1 closer. It's just the most epic middle of Act 1 song you will ever hear, where it's just the characters are reflecting of just things are changing and I don't know how to cope with this and deal with it. And then at the end, Sarah hears the music that Cole House is playing and she comes down.
Right.
And then they sing Wheels of a Dream. Basically, the theme of the show. How they use the metaphor of the car.
You in the car. You're so obsessed with the car.
The car is everything. They use the metaphor of a car about how the future is going to be so amazing, not for them, but for their fucking son.
Yes.
And it's just so beautiful. And then everything falls apart.
I, again, understand the importance of these two songs and what they are in the show, and people really like them, and thesis statements and all that. Are they pleasant to the ear? Not really.
How is new music not pleasant?
New music.
How is Wheels of a Dream not
New
pleasant?
music, I dislike them less than I used to because I had heard them. Also, I'd heard them done at a drama camp, and they were performed by just all white people, and it just was it was just a little weird. And so I also just the whole ragtime of it all is not for me. So I jump back to I remember the names of the people who sang it, and I'm just hearing those people in my head, and so maybe that's just me. I'm bringing baggage to the table with those songs, but they never hit me Your Daddy's Son or a baggage before. May Maren Maisie rest. I mean, we can't get too far into it, but I was listening to this and that is what a loss. What a loss. I just we can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it,
all right.
but I will. During the night that Goldman spoke at Union Square, which is just such a cathartic moment for Mother's younger brother, he realizes he's I'm gonna be a revolutionary, and he's totally the Bernie Bros of our time. And then Tata, turned out he invented flip books, which isn't real, but he...
I was just thinking of, remember in Animorphs, at the bottom corner you'd have the flip moment of we're gonna change from human to lizard or whatever. I was I bet he did that.
Cole House Walker, as he's driving to New Rochelle, he gets stopped by these firemen. They don't let him pass through the road, and so then Cole House goes to find a policeman, and the firemen trash his car, destroy his car again with the car. And so then Cole House is just I need justice for this.
Yeah.
This is unfair. And he tells Sarah, I'm not gonna marry you until,
I think that's a weird... I don't understand that. Why is Sarah being punished for this happening?
These guys' pride, men in their pride.
But I didn't understand that. Why can't you give me... What did Sarah do? Sarah didn't do it!
And so Sarah is just the vice presidential candidate is gonna come and make a speech in town, and I'm gonna find him and talk to him. She goes to the speech, the little rally that the vice presidential candidate is having, and she charges up to the stage, and obviously, because, the police are racist, they see a woman charging up to the stage. They're oh, she has a gun. They beat her with their sticks.
She didn't have a fucking gun.
She didn't have a gun. She dies. Then you get into Till We Reach That Day. Which is just you listen to it now and you're just this is still relevant.
I was gonna say everything that happens in this section, it's why has nothing changed? We're literally 100 years after, and
yeah. I mean, the entire show, you listen to it and you're just all of this is kind of still
happening,
and it's just when you think about it, it just hits you so
hard. Know. Is that the end of Act 1?
And that's the end of Act 1.
What a note to end that first act on. It's Jesus God.
Then he goes Act 2.
All right.
Whole house goes crazy and he shoots a bunch of firemen.
Oh well. I mean, it's one of those things where it's that's you shouldn't kill people, but I get it. Booker T. Washington is all like, oh, you've set our race back so much. And again, all things that people still say today.
Exactly.
It's
like the whole debate of that.
Right. It's like, are you gonna react in anger? Are you gonna like play the respectability politics game? And it's like, no one's right, no one's wrong, and like we're still having this discussion, and it's like, why?
Mother and father they have their son, and Cole House left their baby with them because Sarah is dead. Yeah. So they have this baby, and they're just like, what do we do? And so the father's just like, let's spend a lot of time, let's go to Atlantic City, let's run away from our problems. In Atlantic City, Mother meets Tata, who's now a famous movie director. Yeah. They sort of have like a moment together where they're watching their children play.
Our children.
It's
a lovely song. That is a lovely.
What is such an incredible scene. The whole theme of the show is just like, our children, like the future. The
future will be better.
The future will be better for our children, and then the
Spoiler,
future will be
it's
better.
not. Update from the future, it is not better.
So then Cole House decides to blow up a library because Mother's younger brother is like, gotta fight the system.
And he's like a revolution. He can't like come up with the words to say. He's like, I can blow things up.
Yeah. The father's like, oh, gotta go take care of this because like they called for him. Father sort of kind of is angry at Mother, and like there's tension between them that built up through the entire show. That she brought all of this into their lives when they were living very comfortably in New Rochelle. When Father leaves, that's when we get into Back to
Yes! Because when he was leaving, he basically said to her, like, now we're gonna go back. Like, after this, it's gonna go back to how it was before. And then Marin Maisie.
And Marin Maisie, may she rest in peace.
It's just like, we can never go back to before.
That is Mother's 11 o'clock number.
Yeah, and it is... I mean,
and when I tell you, she just recently died of ovarian cancer.
Awful. How old was she?
She was 58.
Awful.
Yeah, and just like she was just like starting to enter like the prime of being like a musical theater woman, because it's like once you're like past your 50s and you're like a well-respected musical theater woman, it's just like, oh, all those great roles.
Yeah, you're gonna be working.
It's the opposite of Hollywood. Musical theater women are respected and revered so much when they are like past the age of 50.
It's like the Housewives.
Pretty much. The fact that we did not appreciate what we had when she was, you know, like that age.
Did she win a Tony for this?
No, she didn't.
She nominated?
She did, yes. Okay, yeah. Marin Maisie's Back to Before on the original Broadway cast recording of Ragtime is the single greatest vocal performance captured on a cast recording ever in my life. It is so perfectly done. No one can sing that song like her. Leia Salonga came close. The score is so epic and so brilliant. Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens, who wrote the score, we should say their names. They wrote such a score that is so actable, but still so musical in the same sense. You know, where the music is so important, and the people they cast in these roles are so brilliant because they're actors who are equally wonderful at singing, and there's such a musicianship with the acting ability. It just works so perfectly together, and the music is so respected in Marin Maisie's version of Back to Before. Like, just the phrasing, and then you get to the end where it's everything. I don't know if it's legit, I don't know if it's belting, I don't know if it's mixing, I don't know where she's placing those notes. But it's a mixture of everything. No one on Broadway now can sing like that, where it's the perfect blend of feeling contemporary but still feeling classic like that. It's
because I've never been one for a classic vocalist, I've never been one for a head voice moment, but the way that she does it, the way that it's mixed and placed in her face somewhere, it's just like, where is it? I don't know. It's just how can you be both? How can you're not like, obviously this isn't like an FD White, I'm going to just belt my face off screen, but you're also not like so classic that it feels disconnected. Like you feel her in it. It's all about the music. She does a couple of like slides, a couple of like giving her personality into it.
Just enough.
But it's never overpowering. It's never like running or riffing, or it's just like, this is how it should be sung. These emotions are real and coming from me, and they're coming from like a human place, but like I am still a white woman who is like from a different time at the turn of a century. It just feels so true to her character, and it's so well performed, but still the audience can relate to it, and it's like that's a balance. That is a fucking balance that no, I've not heard. I mean, I'm obviously not the musical theater head, but usually with contemporary theater, it's like we're doing contemporary and that's that.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, we're doing it all.
Yeah. So then you go back to the library where Colehouse is, making a mess of himself.
Yes.
And I've just recently really got into the whole "Look What You Done" sequence, where it's Booker T. Washington and Colehouse Walker Jr. like arguing with each other about what is the right thing to do. Booker T just like gets him so hard with the what's the line? And you dare to teach your lessons to these wild, unthinking youths when your own son you've abandoned to be raised on white men's truths. And Colehouse is just like, oh shit.
Yeah, you got me there.
You got me.
And it very much felt like, I don't know, the like Martin Luther King school of thought versus like the Malcolm X school of thought. And it's like again, all things. And then if you saw Black Panther, it was kind of like the Michael B. Jordan school of thought versus, the Black Panther school of thought. So it's like, this is all, I mean, Black Panther's not real, but it's again.
But I mean, those arguments are so relevant in anything, like in any aspect of everything now. Like people are still having those debates.
And I feel like there's just never a good solution when you've been like, marginalized this way. There's different ways that people react. Both are legitimate, but like, what gets you further? I guess we'll see. So far, not much has changed. We'll see. Come next century, we'll see how we all feel.
Colehouse is just like, tells all his men who are just like these young kids.
Yes.
Colehouse is just like, boys, we're working it out.
Yes.
We're not gonna do this.
And this isn't giving up.
This isn't giving up.
You can go out and tell the story. That's what. Just because we have not enacted the violence that we plan to does not mean that we can't, spread the message that we want to spread. Like you can go out and do this because he basically knows when he walks out of that library that he's going to be killed, or like he knows this ends in him dying.
Oh yeah. They tell him, they're just like, Colehouse, like, get your men out. They can escape, and then you'll come out and you will just be arrested and you will try your case in a court of law, which is like, obviously the right thing to do.
Right.
After he has the book talk with Booker T. Washington, he realizes, he's like, my son will grow up thinking of me as a man who blew up a library or a man who did the legal thing, who did the noble thing, and walked out, even though he knows when he walks out, they're going to shoot him and kill him. Yeah. And so the Colehouse walks out, he's shot, ends the play.
It's like, I mean, that both endings of first act and second act are just like, all right, death has happened to the black people, and it's sad, and good night. Good
night. And there's the epilogue where like,
you learn that father dies.
You learn that father dies in another expedition. Yeah. Mother, who remains friends with Tata, like ends up marrying him. Yes. Then Tata creates the show Little Rascals. Then it ends with everyone singing Wheels of a Dream.
It's a show. It is. I mean, the show takes as much out of you as it took us making this video. It is involved. It is long. It is epic. But I mean, a lot of it is very good. I think that just because Ragtime, the type of music, is not for me, I had some trouble with parts of the score. But the Your Daddy's Sons, the Back to Befores, the Make Them Hear You. It's like there are tentpole songs in this score that are just like, oh, you can't beat this.
Ragtime is utter perfection.
Yes.
I need to go to work.
Oh, okay.
We talked about this a long time.
I know.
And you know what? I could talk about it for longer.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Have fun at work, and we'll see you next week with a new patron only 2K Matt.
Bye. Listen to Ragtime if you don't know it.
Bye.
It's perfect.